everyone. This is Kat with the Slay Foundation podcast, The Power of Storytelling. And today I have Lydia Breedlove with me. Hi, Lydia.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
So a little background on Lydia. She just graduated the University of Texas with a degree in athletic training. And she is continuing her education with physical therapy school in the fall at Texas Women's University. So congratulations so much on all your success, and
Thank you.
I'm so excited for what you're going to do.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot. You know, graduating during quarantine is a lot different. So it's nice to hear actually my degree.
I know, I can't even imagine. So how have you, like as a student, how are you doing throughout quarantine, especially as a senior and someone continuing education? What was that like for you?
It was a lot. So I actually was working with the Texas baseball team as their student athletic trainer. So for us, it was really disappointing just because we were just starting our season, about to start conference, and then everything got shut down and our season's over. So that was really hard. I think more than missing class was missing them and missing all the people at Texas baseball. And I mean, I was there almost every day for at least 6 or 7 hours. So it was like losing a little bit of my family, but I think that knowing that I'm going to be continuing my education and that everything happens for a reason, it's been good. And I think that even though quarantine wasn't exactly what we were all expecting this year to be, I think that it's really important to see the positive aspects of it. I know that not everyone is having a positive time, and I know that there's a lot of things of people going home and they're not comfortable being at home. But for me, it's been a nice time with my family that I've enjoyed, even though I can't go anywhere.
Yeah, no, it's kind of unique to be able to go home at a time in your life when that's something you never would be able to do, like spending an extended amount of time. So yeah, what was it like being back at home?
So when I first got home, it was a little weird because I was only taking about 5 hours. So I was used to being at baseball whenever I wasn't in class, but now all my classes were online and we weren't meeting much. They were just online. We didn't really do Zoom. We just kind of did it just did it on by ourselves. So at first it was a little weird, but then like my brother came back home. He goes to Texas A&M. And he came back home, so that was nice. And my mom, she wasn't working because her job was closed too. So it was just nice to spend time together and like do our homework together. I felt like I was in high school again. Like still do our homework at the table. So it was a little bit of a throwback, but it was a good little throwback.
Yeah. Was it your experience with the UT baseball team? Was that what made you decide to go to physical therapy school and continue, or is that a plan that you had all along?
So physical therapy is something that I've kind of always wanted to do. I played sports when I was in high school and middle school, basically all my life until I graduated high school. And I knew that I didn't want to play in college. My passion just wasn't there anymore. So I knew that I didn't want to do that. And I knew I wanted to go to UT. So sports, UT, and I had always watched UT games as a little kid, and I saw those people in the khakis, and I was like, I want to be that person. And I found out that that was athletic training. So I was like, oh, athletic training. Okay, cool. And then I found out physical therapy also has like sports physical therapy. So I had always wanted to do something with sports and something with working with athletes. And I found that athletic training and physical therapy together would give me my best route in what I actually want to end up doing.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So you want to go, and do you see yourself continuing with baseball and wanting to go into that in the future? Or is there any like specific sport that you want to work with, or is it just athletes individually?
I think I want to stay in baseball, at least for the time that I'm still young. And not many people know about athletic training. So just as a little background for everyone watching, athletic training is a health profession, an allied health profession, where we are trained to do emergency care, we're trained to do evaluation, rehabilitation, and just first aid, everything for the athletes. And those are usually the people that you see that go out along with the team doctor if someone's injured while you're watching a game. So I love baseball. My brother played baseball. And I think that that's probably where I'll end up when I am a young person and I can work 60 hours a week. But once I get older, I know that physical therapy is going to give me the stability that I want, and the stability to kind of be able to see my kids because I want to have a family.
Yeah.
So, and physical therapy and athletic training, if I want to go into the professional sports realm, that's a very, very highly sought after thing.
That's amazing. Well, in some of our conversations before, you described your college experience as a whirlwind. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that? And was there ever a time that you weren't quite sure if physical therapy was like, you questioned it ever, or was something that you were like, I don't know anymore, and then if you came back to it, or just kind of a little bit about that?
Okay, so to answer your second question first, physical therapy, I haven't really changed my mind about physical therapy. I knew that that was where I was probably going to end up. I didn't know physical therapy is very competitive, so I didn't really know if I was going to go right after I finished school, but that was always the goal. So I'm really thankful that that is what I'm doing. As far as college in and of itself being a whirlwind, I just wasn't, my freshman year, I wasn't used to being away from home. I know that's most people, but I just wasn't being used to being away from home for that long. And I think that was really hard. But I made friends in my major. My major is very small, only 21 people in my class. So yeah. So I made friends there. So they're like my family now. So that really helped me my freshman year. Sophomore year, it was kind of, I finally got the hang of everything, and life was going good. And then the spring of my sophomore year, so spring 2018, was when my longtime friend, he passed away very suddenly one day, like during the week. And that was a lot for me. I didn't know if I was going to take off a semester or if I was going to, I just didn't know what to do at that time. But I was blessed with a lot of people who were also very longtime friends that were at UT, and of the person and my friend who died. So I think that really helped me. And looking back, I wouldn't change anything. It was a very, very difficult time, but I think that seeing how you can persevere through that, I think that was something that I learned a lot from during that time, just because you're doing school, but then you're also dealing with like you lost a friend. So like, that's really hard. And I think learning how to balance life, because life is going to happen to whether it's your friend dying or if it's your parents dying or whoever. And even coronavirus right now, like things are going to happen in life where we're not ready for it, and it's going to be hard for us. And I think that learning how to persevere through that is something that I really gained my sophomore year. Junior year was, I was just making it. Senior year was when I really got into working with the team for a full time. Basically, all my life was spent there, and yeah, that's a whirlwind in and of itself, just being there. So I really enjoyed that. Fun times, crazy times when I was like, oh my gosh, I've been here for like 9 hours, but I really enjoyed that. So I look back on college very fondly, even though I had a lot of loss during college. I also gained a lot. So I think it's always important to look at the positive.
Yeah, I feel like all of my experiences with grief is that it's in itself, like learning to like healthfully move on and like carry something with you is also like a full-time job. Like that is in by no way, shape, or form an easy thing to do. And being a student going through so much change on top of that's such like an emotional experience. And it just sounds like you made like such a great thing out of that, and getting involved with baseball, like that's such a cool experience.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. So I
Yeah.
actually was at my sophomore year. I was actually at baseball, like when I was at that rotation when he
Yeah.
passed away. So going back and like doing it my senior year, it just felt like the world was kind of coming full circle. So
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, did you feel kind of like a part of the team, like being there with everyone and like having that kind of support system? Was that a really good thing for you?
um during which part? Like when I was there when he passed away or like now?
I guess both. I guess.
Okay. I think that as a sophomore, since we're there a lot less. We're newbies in the program. It's our first year. So we're like there for 6 weeks and then we're gone. So I felt it, I felt that I was always going there and being positive. Like I never left there not in a better mood than I came. And they were always so positive. So that really helped. And then this year as a senior being with them all the time, like that is my second family. I consider them my second family, everyone who works there. I'm actually wearing a Texas baseball shirt right now. So
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Well, that's so exciting. I mean, I've never like really been super into baseball, so I think it's so cool to hear the perspective of someone that's like that has like a family aspect with it, like a team atmosphere.
yeah, it's okay. I don't take offense against people not liking baseball. I understand it's kind of slow.
Yeah, was your family like really into baseball growing up? Like you said, your brother played it, and is that what
Yes.
led you more to get involved with it?
So yes, we are a very much baseball family. My mom used to watch it with her dad, and my
Uh-huh.
brother played. I was that sister that's always at the baseball games. There was like three of us, so I was that person. Um, so that really steered me towards baseball. But I think being there as a sophomore, just kind of interacting with our athletes, that really just sold me. And it's a very laid back and like good environment.
Yeah,
Give very, very high props to Coach Pierce over there.
a high
It's a great
vibe.
place to be.
Yeah, well, speaking of your family, I think you have had a really interesting family experience and like childhood. So if you could like tell us a little bit about that and kind of some background on your family,
Okay.
it'd be great.
So my mom and my dad are both blind. So not just like can't see like some things. They're totally blind, 100%. So that was really, well, I don't want to say it was different to me
Mhm.
because for me, it was just normal because they had been blind their whole lives. My mom was born without sight, and my dad was born with glaucoma, and that's pressure on your optic nerve. And your optic nerve is what allows you to be able to see, and your brain to see the pictures that your eye is bringing in, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So when he was born, he could only see colors, but only bright colors. So like red and like neon orange and things like that. And by the time he was 5, he lost all of his sight. Even after all the surgeries, medicine wasn't as good as it is now. There was no LASIK and all that stuff that they now have to treat
Yeah.
these things. So he lost all of his sight. So my brother and I grew up with my parents being totally blind, and like I said, it wasn't abnormal to me.
Mhm.
But growing up, you see people staring at you and you don't understand why people are staring at you because that's just your parents. And I remember asking my mom one time, Mom, why are there people looking at us? And she's like, well, we're different than like other people are. So that was like one of the first times that I remember like, ever realizing, oh, this is like not normal. Um, so, and then other aspects of my life that were a little different. So everyone kind of forgets about the fact that your parents drive you everywhere when you're a kid. So here in Houston, they have a really amazing program through Metro. And it's called MetroLift, where it has people who have disabilities, whether it's a physical disability or an intellectual disability, or they just need someone to take them places and there's some form of disability, they're able to call the day before and say, okay, I need to go to this address. It has to be in the city of Houston.
Okay.
And then they say, okay, what time do you need to get there? And they schedule the ride for them. And then they also have to schedule the ride back. So that's kind of how my life was. It wasn't going to the grocery store whenever we needed anything. It was kind of like, okay, we have to plan. We're going to go to the grocery store at this time. Like, especially with sports, that was also a little bit hard because it wasn't just, okay, we're going to have practice at 7:00. I'm going to leave at 6:30 and we're going to get there on time. It kind of was, it's not very reliable sometimes. So you kind of have to work with that. And that was also different. The biggest thing that I just, how should I word this? When I turned 16 and I got a car and I could go to Kroger for the first time and just like go get something from
Yeah.
Kroger, it was like a whole family trip. It was so exciting. And I think that that's something that I have to remember also,
Yeah.
like remember where you're coming from and not forget about that. Now I'm 22. It's been what, 6 years? So now I'm used to being able to drive myself places and used to being able to go wherever. And I think it's super important to remember where you came from. When I come home, and my parents are still riding Metrolift now because my mom is working, my dad is going to go do stuff now. So I still remembering, like, even like this is even during the pandemic, that's, they have to do that because that is how they get around and that's what they've been doing their whole life. So I think that's something that's super, super interesting. And I do have to know, my parents are some of the smartest people that I know.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like really like some of the smartest people I know. They're the ones who got me into UT, like basically into liking UT. They both
Yeah.
went to UT,
Is that
Longhorns
where
for
they met?
life. Actually, no. They met, well, technically, yes, they met at UT, but there's a school in Austin called Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And they actually both went, my mom went there for her whole life. And my dad went there for their summer programs that they have. So they actually knew of each other there, but actually met for the first time at UT.
That's so
So,
cool. Okay.
yeah. But I also, can I add a little bit about
Yeah.
my mom's story real quick?
Please. No, please.
Um, so she grew up in Brazoria County. If you're not familiar with Brazoria County, it's southwest of Houston, about an hour and a half in the middle of the country. Like it is farms. So she grew up, her mom's house was basically, my grandma's house was basically like a part of a farm. So
Okay.
they didn't have very many resources for people who were blind at all around them. So my grandma, grandma and grandpa sent her to Texas School for the Blind in Austin. So Austin is about 5 hours from Brazoria.
Okay.
And this is like a not a boarding school, but it was they slept there. So
Yeah.
kind of like a boarding school.
Yeah.
So she was there from the time she was 7 until she graduated high school. So she left home at a super early age to get her education. So I think her doing that and having her parents having to sacrifice so much, sending your kid 5 hours away from you to go to school.
That's a lot.
Leave, like, they sleep there, they don't really come back on weekends. Her parents would come up, but it's not the same thing as when you're in elementary school and you're going home to your parents, like you're going back home to your dorm. So I think that's just super amazing. And for people who don't know the history about disabilities and what was happening at the time, my parents were born in the early 60s, late 50s. So at that time, people with disabilities were being sent to institutions, and not like mental institutions that we're thinking of now. These were just institutions where they put people who had disabilities, all types of disabilities, and just put them in there so that
They didn't know what to do, so they went there.
yeah. So the fact that my grandparents, on both sides, were blessed with good doctors and people who knew that there were other opportunities is something that is super important. And I'm very thankful that that happened, because I don't know if they would be where they are today had they not known of those opportunities. And so,
Well,
yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Growing up, did you like have to find yourself explaining stuff about your parents that were like very natural to you, but you had to explain them to like friends of yours, or like as a child growing up, something that was so normal and it was your parents, like how did people ever like were unfair or like questioned you about that in a way that you had to find to make them understand?
Um, a lot of my friends I met in middle school and
Mhm.
I had throughout all, I'm still friends with them. So at the beginning, they were like, wait, so your parents are blind? But it's not something that I even think to say. Like
Yeah.
they meet my parents and then they're blind and they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, they can't see. So um, I think that it's a little different, especially as kids. You don't really know, and now even adults, people don't know how to interact with people who have a disability. Um, so that was a little interesting.
Mhm.
I had to explain to them, you can do the same things that you do with anybody that you meet. Like, it's the same thing. You're going to have to tell them, like, oh, I'm going to reach my hand out to shake your hand, or I'm going to go give you a hug just so that they know. But they're just the same as your parents or our friends' parents. Like, they're just the same. Like, they want to talk to you. Like, you don't have to be scared to talk to them. Um, and I think that that's the most important part. But I never felt as if my friends didn't want to be friends with me because my parents were blind.
Yeah.
So I love them very dearly, and I really appreciate that. But I think that kind of people out in the world that didn't know us were more where I had more issues.
Mhm.
I remember when we were in a cab, because like they use cabs also, the
Yeah.
Metrolift service used cabs. And we were in a cab and one of the cab drivers was saying that that my parents like had a sickness or a disease. And I just was so hurt by that because I didn't understand. I was like, you just can't see. That's not a sickness. Like
No.
you just can't see. So just things like little things like that sometimes, but that's the only time that anyone ever was that outrightly mean about it.
Yeah.
I did have one librarian when I was in like the 6th grade think that I forged my parents' signature because because they can't, well, like if you think about it, like they can't see, so they sign as best as they can. So she's like, "Did you forge this?" I'm like, "No, my parents are blind."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh." I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't do that." But I don't think that it wasn't intentionally to be mean. It just was a funny like, "No, they're blind." So
Yeah.
didn't forge it.
Yeah.
Um so I thought that was but I never thought that anyone was ever being unfair. Does that kind of give you
Yeah.
an insight? If you want more insight, I can give you more.
No, yeah, I think that's like just a lack of like understanding or not being necessarily exposed. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, it just seems, but I mean, if you have any more insight.
Um, you know, I think that people should learn how to interact with people with disabilities and not
Yeah.
be scared. I think that asking about different things is the best way to not be scared. Like people would rather you go up and ask, "Hey, can I help you?" Or, "Hey, like, would it be good for me to do X, Y, and Z in order for me to like help you?" And I think that that's the best thing to
Best
do.
approach.
Yeah, instead of being scared or like doing something wrong, because sometimes it scares the people with the disability that if you like just go and like do something that you think that's helping. So just asking like, "Hey, can I do something to help you?" Or, "Do you need
Yeah.
any help?" Like that's a good starting point.
Okay.
um I think one little thing that like you don't really think about as a kid is like all the forms you have to fill out.
Yeah.
And like all the forms you have to fill out, especially the first day of school packets. I know we had those all every single year, but my parents were blessed with a mail reader who would help them read our mail and read all of our forms and fill those out. And I think that's something that's really important, that sometimes my teachers, I would have to explain to them like, "I'm sorry if I don't get this form back to you
Mhm.
ASAP." Like my parents, it was an every year thing. My parents are blind. We're going to get the forms. It's not that I didn't do them. We just need
Yeah.
to make sure that we get them all, because it was me and my brother. So that's a lot of forms.
That's so funny. Is it just you and your brother? You said you had sisters too.
Just my brother. I
Oh.
wish, but but no. I
No,
always ask my mom, I wanted an older sister. She's like, well, I can't do anything about that.
too late now.
So
It's too late.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that insight. I guess like shifting back a little bit more towards your career,
Yeah.
what would you say to a student that's interested in sports and is kind of interested in physical therapy? Like, how would you encourage them to seek more of that exposure out? Like you said, not a lot of people necessarily know what that kind of means or what kind of careers can come from that.
I think that there's something called the National Athletic Trainers Association, and their website's just NATA. Like if you go to the NATA website, you can see all of the different settings that you can work in athletic training. There's so many, not even just in sports. Like you can work in the military, you can work occupational, like for people in their jobs, and work on ergonomics. So there's just so many things that you can do, that I encourage people who are thinking that they want to go into sports to go to that website and see, like, okay, these are the things, because they have different jobs. You can see what athletic trainers do. There's a lot of like things. I'm sorry, my dog started barking. the Zoom struggles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's like your latest adventure is this new dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So my physical therapy, I think, is something that you kind of have to figure out whether or not you like. I think starting with, do I actually like being around people that much? I totally respect people who don't like to interact with people for an hour, like different people every hour. Like I totally respect that. So if that's not something you like, I don't think you should do physical therapy. But if you do like that kind of stuff and you like to help people to do better, I think that shadowing a physical therapist is the best way to know whether or not you're going to like it. You get to see the good, the bad, the ugly of it. You get to see people not liking their physical therapy, not wanting to do their physical therapy, but then you get to see, if you're there for long enough, you get to see them improving. So you get to see all aspects. And I think that I didn't do enough of that when I was like a younger student. I didn't start doing more of my observation hours until I got to college. I didn't know that I could do them before I got to college. So I highly suggest anyone who's interested in physical therapy to do that. Athletic training is a little bit more difficult. If your high school has an athletic training program or an athletic trainer, sometimes they're called trainers. The proper term is athletic trainer, but they're called trainers. Sometimes they're called doc at some schools. So if that's someone that you're looking for, that's some of the terms that you might hear. And I think that talking to them and saying, hey, I'm really interested in what you do, can I shadow you? They might not even have students in the program, but just asking, the worst they could say is no. Like, so I think that asking it for any profession too, I know there's going to be people who are watching that are interested in something that they don't think they can do until they're whatever age. And I think that's something that we need to change a little bit in society. Like, just ask and they can say no. And if they say no, wait a few weeks or a year and then ask again. Like, that's the best way to do it, because you don't want to look back and say, wow, I really wish that I would have asked and like try to do this. At least you can look back and say, well, I tried everything that I could to do this and it didn't work out. And that's just, sometimes that happens.
Yeah. I think that's a really great point. People, especially like I've noticed from my experience, when people are too nervous to ask, they think that like someone will be offended by asking for help. Are so like other people like aspiring to be who like where they are. And people are more often good than, I guess, quote unquote not good. Like people want to help, and I think that's so important, like for anyone in any field or aspiring to learn, like just to ask. Like I think that's such a good thing to emphasize.
That's why I'm so glad that you asked me to do this, because I want people to be able to reach out to people who are closer to their age. I know that sometimes older people are scary. Older people should not be scary. They know a lot more than us young people. We're young professionals. We don't know that much. we're there, but we're not where our superiors are. So I think they're not scary. They might be intimidating, but they're not
Yeah,
scary.
they're not scary. They most likely won't bite. I mean,
No.
yeah.
So I think that I really appreciate you asking, because I want to be the bridge, because I might not know their answer, but I can ask and not be as intimidated as as someone who is younger than I would to ask that question. And I had a lot of people who inspired me when I was younger, and I want to make sure that people know, like, yes, I might be busy. Yes, I might be doing this, but like, I still want to help people, and I still want people to be able to achieve their dreams, because
Yeah.
I got to do that. I'm getting to do that. I want to make sure people can do that too.
And physical therapy, as someone that has had to go to physical therapy herself, like that is a profession that people need to know about because they do a lot of good. They help a lot. I don't know what my physical therapist back home, what magic they learned in school, what potions they've concocted, but it is
Oh my
like really
goodness.
important and like cool career.
Oh, thank you. It really is. It really is a very, very awesome career, and very rewarding. It does, like any job, it does have its drawbacks and the things that you don't want to do, but it it's something that I'm excited to spend the rest of my life doing, which brings me to a point that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned in this. Make sure you find something that you love. I'm talking to all you guys who are watching. Find something that you love. It might not be the job that makes you the most money, that makes you be the highest paid, whatever. Make sure it's something that you love. You don't want to wake up 20 years from now realizing all I've been waiting for is to retire from a job that I don't like. So I think that too often now, especially with education being pushed so hard on everyone, I think that finding the thing that you love, that might not be going to a traditional 4-year university, that might be going to trade school, that might be going to cosmetology school. It could be find the thing that you love and do good at it. You're a lot more passionate and put a lot more time into things that you love and things that you like to do. And putting more time usually means that you're a lot better than you achieve your potential
Yeah.
way faster, and with a lot less hair falling out than if you if you do something that you don't like, or you're just doing it so that you can get your paycheck.
Yeah.
So if you have the opportunity to do the thing that you love, I know that some people don't have the opportunity to do that, but if you have the opportunity, take that opportunity. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's one of the most important things, even that college students have to understand too. Because with college, it's very pushed, like, this is your starting salary, this is, and I think that people start to forget, like, you're going to probably be doing this job for like 30 years. So the paycheck's going to be nice for the first like 3 years. And then things are going to
You
just
might not.
start, the
Yeah.
grind is going to be real.
Yeah, that's one
So
thing I think, especially going to a 4-year university and like seeing it's pushed so heavily that you finish in 4 years. And
exactly.
I mean, not a lot of people that I know can like decide on their life path completely in 4 years. I mean, like, it's so inspiring that you have like you're so dedicated to your like sport, passion and
Yeah.
like and your craft. And I think that's like such a great thing, but that's not the case for everyone. And
Right.
it's so important that like especially like you seek out things like you said that you love, and it might be like changing day to day,
Yeah.
and that's something that like isn't like often said.
And it's okay. It is okay to change your major, everyone. It is
Oh,
okay. You do not have to, you are not stuck in your major once you start it. Even
yeah.
if you think, oh, well, I really thought that it's okay. Like you said, it's if you don't finish in 4 years, like, it's
Okay.
okay. It really is okay. It might be sad and you might not feel that you really achieve, but
Mhm.
you're gonna go get your degree. You're gonna go do what you like to do, and it's gonna be okay. I think that that's one of the things that I would give, like, advice that I would give to my classmates when we were freshmen. Because I know some people who are like, I don't know if this is really what I want to do, and you might end up going back to school anyway to do the thing that you wanted to do in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that also, like, making sure that you're keeping yourself individualized and not just following what your friends are doing. I think that's really prominent when you're in high school, and even when you're starting college, you're just doing what your friends, and which is fine
Yeah.
if you like what they're doing. But if you have this like big passion for art and your friends are more into something else, you can still hang out with those friends and then pursue your passion for art away from those friends, and that's totally fine. You'll make friends with people who share the same passion with you too. So I think that's super important.
No, yeah.
I'm
Do you
sorry for
ever
going on a
find
tangent.
yourself like struggling to individualize yourself in such a small program?
Um, no, we
Mhm.
were very, we were a very different group, but also one big family.
Yeah.
So we kind of all had our own personalities. Everyone had their own niche in a family. Like I was the person who asked all the questions. I had so many questions. And then I had friends who they're you just count on everyone's behavior, and like that's just what makes up a family. And I
Yeah.
think making sure that you keep yourself even in such a small group is something that I even learned while I was in
Yeah.
college. I When I was in high school, didn't like doing things by myself. Like, oh, I have to have my friends go with me. They have to do this. And then once I was a sophomore in college, I'm like, I want to go to this volleyball game. No one wants to go to the volleyball game. I'm still going to go to the volleyball game. And I my mom really helped me with that. She's like, you're going to miss out on so many things in life if you just are waiting for someone to go with you. I know that it's super weird to just go to something without somebody. I know that sounds really weird, but sometimes you're like, wow, I'm really glad that after you do it the first time, you're like, okay, that wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
And then you do it another time and it's like, okay, this isn't bad. And then you start getting used to it. And I think that you can explore just so many different things when
Yeah.
you're just like, you know what, I want to go do this, I'm going to go do it. Like, ask people before. You don't have to be antisocial. Ask people if they want to go, but if they don't be like, oh well, I really wish I could have gone and done this, but no one wanted to go with me.
Yeah.
So
No, it's such a good point. I feel like after COVID experience, I'll be so much more willing to not see people anymore. I've lost like social skills left and right. Like I'll be going alone a lot. Yeah.
yeah, like if in-person social skills, Zoom, I'm like good now.
Now we're good. Now we're good.
But so in person, I'm like, oh wait, I can't shake your hand. Can't give you a hug. Yeah. Oh, there is one thing that I think is super important for for schooling and knowing how to fund your schooling, because if you didn't know, college is expensive.
Point.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
So I was blessed by the Terry Foundation. They are a foundation started by Howard and Nancy Terry. They've both passed away, but they started the foundation, and it helps undergraduate students, or well, it helps high school students pursue a 4-year degree, and they pay. It's a full scholarship, so they cover your housing, your tuition, everything that you need to go to school. And I think that not enough people know about it, and I think that it's a sad thing, but and being able to pay for school kind of limits where you're able to go to school.
Absolutely.
So it's all Texas schools. If anyone wants any information, not all Texas schools, but there's like 16 or 13 Texas schools. So that's a lot of the big schools here in Texas.
Yeah.
It's UT, A&M, University of North Texas, Texas Tech. There's like a bunch. If anyone wants any more information about that, I want people to know that like you can reach out to me and ask me questions about it, because that's also my other family that I have, is my
Yeah.
Terry family, because they make it a very big point that it's not just a check that we get in the mail. Like in the mail, it's a family, and they really emphasize leadership and academics, and service. So that's something that if you're a freshman or even if you're a junior, something that you should get into, academics and leadership. Because one, you need that just in life, but
Yeah.
that's some of the things that they want you to have as a candidate. And I think that knowing about how to do that stuff is really important, because you can't go to school without paying for it or taking out an exorbitant amount of loans. which people don't like to talk about, like
Yeah.
the ugly part of college, and that's one of the ugly parts of college.
Yeah.
So I think having a plan for that, and I know that not everyone has the resources or
Mhm.
knows how to do that. A lot of people are first generation college students now, which is amazing,
Yeah.
but they don't know the process of like, oh, I have to apply to school, and I have to, and even me having parents who went to college, college has changed so much. It changes so much all the time. So college counselors are also, if your school has a college counselor, should be your
Go
best
to
friend
them.
right there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Go to them. No, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the back to the Terry it's the Terry Scholarship Foundation is
So it's called the Terry Foundation,
the
but
foundation.
it's a Terry scholarship.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I've made a lot of friends through that. I'm still friends with we roomed together as freshmen. All of the Terry scholars live together on the same
It's a
floor.
community. Like it's a whole
Yeah.
I know a lot of kids in it, and I know kids that have made their best friends through it.
Yeah,
And
like
I'm like,
I'm still friends with my
wait,
roommate.
you get your best friends and college paid for? Like, what did I miss? Like,
Yeah, and I think that is super important to
yeah,
know those things, because I'm looking back and I didn't know a lot about college. Like I wish that I knew so much more about how to do things and what the proper channels to do this, and like how to get the most money here, and like it's not just about money, but you have more freedom to do what you want and not be stressed
yeah,
about, okay, well, I need to have this job and I need to finish in 4 years, because if I don't, then I'm not going to be able to pay for it. And it just hurts my heart that that is the situation that a lot of people in college are in. I
yeah.
mean, that's going to be in grad school. Like that's going to be, I'm going to have to figure out how to pay for grad school, but like loans are a thing.
Loans,
Loans are not a loans are not a bad thing. Like, yes, they're not great, but if you want to go chase your dreams and you have to take out a loan,
then that's
do it.
the college. That's another thing is people like graduating in 4 years. People look at college as a very set, one by one, two by two process, and there's so
Hmm.
many ways to achieve your dreams, and there's so many different paths you can take and so many different combinations, and if loans are a part of that, whether it's scholarships or you have the ability to just pay out of pocket, I guess, I mean that's just the way it is, and everyone is different and everyone's experience is different.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to understand those other sides of life,
Yeah.
because like you said, there's people who are all on loans, or people who are all on scholarships or grants, or are part of certain programs, or their parents or them are just able to write the check. And I think that in college you realize how many different stories there are. And I was blessed to go to a high school that was extremely diverse, and so it's socioeconomic status, race, ethnicity. So I had seen that, but not on the scale that I had seen at UT. And I think it just kind of expands your mind and like understanding of the world. And I think that especially in the times that we're in now, just kind of understanding where everyone is coming from before kind of jumping on someone. Like
Yeah.
everyone comes from a different story and everyone has certain beliefs based on where they're coming from. So understanding that through conversations is like the best way to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that college is a great place for that. And if you don't go to college and you decide to do trade school,
Yeah.
or you decide to do something else, you're still going to see those things. Like I haven't started working, so I haven't seen it in the workplace, but I've heard that you learn a lot more in the workplace also, and your eyes are open more in the workplace. So,
Yeah.
oh, we have a visitor. I think my puppy's here.
Yeah. When did you decide to get your dog, by the way? As a side note.
um, when did I decide to get him?
Yeah, I guess when or how or
Once quarantine started, I was like, okay, well, we're probably gonna be here for a while.
so why
I'm gonna
not?
have enough. I knew I wanted a puppy,
Mhm.
so I was like, okay, this is the perfect time to decide. Like, okay, am I gonna do it or am I not gonna do it? So I was like, okay, mom, can I, because I'm gonna be living at home for at least a year. So it's like, mom, I was like, mom and dad, can I? Uh-oh, hold on, are you okay? Sorry,
No, you're
this is
totally fine.
literally the bloopers of Zoom. But
That's so true.
hey, dad, you're in the camera. He can't tell that he's in the camera. Can't see the camera, so he doesn't realize he's in the camera.
No, yeah.
Dad, you're in the camera. Bye.
So cute. The dog is so cute.
Yeah, he's just wilding right now.
He's having a good time.
Okay, come this way so that you're out of it. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, you can decide. So, okay. So, what was your question?
I guess we just kind of got talking.
The puppy. The puppy.
Oh, the puppy. That's
So
right.
yeah. So I asked my parents, like, hey, how do you feel about me getting a puppy? Because I'm living at home. Save money. If you live in the city where your college is, at least for a year. Stay home if you can, if your parents let you, because you don't realize how much you eat out. You don't realize how much groceries cost. You just don't realize some things.
Oh.
So I'm gonna be living at home for a little while, and I was like, "Are y'all okay if I get a puppy?" And everyone was on board, and I was like, "Okay, awesome." It was not the easiest thing because I wanted to get one from a shelter, just because like those are the animals that like they're not the purebred, like we know everything about them, like let me give you their pedigree, and like so I wanted something like that just because they need a good home too. So we got him like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Stop eating that. 3 weeks ago. So he is a handful, but he is a good handful most of the time. But I think that I'm learning more also. I think that any circumstance that you're in, you should learn something from it. And I'm just learning to be more patient just because he's still a baby. And I'm like, why would you do that? But he's still a baby. He's 5 months old. He doesn't know what he's doing really. So
He doesn't, just hanging around. Yeah.
So helping him understand and learn the world really is yeah.
Yeah, but that's a whole handful. I feel the same. Kind of feel like him sometimes, but
yeah. Yeah, definitely feel like him sometimes.
Well, Lydia, I so enjoyed talking with you, and all of her information, Instagram and LinkedIn, will be attached to the video. And like she said, I mean, reach out if you have any questions concerning physical therapy and that career. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it and enjoyed talking to you.
I'm sorry if I went off on some tangents, y'all. I just want you to have the most information possible. And like Kat said, make sure that if you have any questions, I don't bite, I promise. So please ask.
Exactly, yeah. And hopefully this summer there's some reruns of some baseball games. Get people into that more for you, yeah.
If you want to watch some old UT baseball games, they are on Longhorn Networks sometimes. So,
okay.
And check out ESPN and all that. They're playing so many old things since there's no sports going on. So if you want to watch some sports, just turn on ESPN. There's probably some old game on. So
that's so funny. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Lydia, for joining us. We so appreciate it, and we're so excited to see all the amazing things you do and all the people and athletes you help. So thank you so much. It was great talking with you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.